People don't talk about this enough. So let's talk about money. Some days I'm still very much in the trenches. Felt convicted about it. Do you want to have more kids? I haven't wanted to talk about this. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this week's video. I'm feeling very chatty today, very energized, and I just want to sit down and I don't know, catch up a little bit. We're doing a very chatty, casual Q&A today. A little coffee chat, if you will. It's a very dreary, cloudy day. If you're new here, my name is Emma. I'm so glad that you're here. I make all kinds of Christian motherhood content and lifestyle content. I would love for you to subscribe if you are not already. If you're not new here, welcome back, friend. Happy Sunday. Hope you're doing well. I'm excited to chat with you today. Grab yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, something cozy. My beverage of choice today is actually the sponsor of today's video, which I'm very excited to talk about. It is ARMRA. I was so excited when ARMRA reached out to work together because I have seen their products everywhere. I feel like they've gone a little bit viral. If you've not heard of ARMRA colostrum, ARMRA delivers colostrum in a digestible form. It has over 400 digestible functional nutrients like peptides, antibodies, and antioxidants, and it supports your cells, your gut, your immune system. It works by strengthening your body's internal guard against environmental threats for complete health. They are the only colostrum that uses a biopotent pasteurization, and that helps keep ARMRA's over 400 bioactive nutrients active and functional. There are so many benefits. Something that I've already actually seen such a big difference in with taking ARMRA every single day is my gut health. So it optimizes your microbiome and it strengthens your gut wall barrier. So it can help with things like bloating and gas and just all things gut. I've seen such a difference with just even my bloating and the way that my body feels. I also feel like it's really helped my energy levels throughout the day. You can also have 3 to 4 servings per day because it's a whole food, and they have different flavors, but they also have just a regular unflavored version, so you can mix a few scoops into your cup of coffee or whatever beverage you want. I also love the vine watermelon flavor. It's nice and refreshing. Or I will just put a few scoops throughout the day in my normal water bottle. It's unflavored, so I don't even notice that it's there, but I'm still getting all of the benefits while I'm drinking my water throughout the day. If you want to check out ARMRA colostrum, I will have them linked at the top of the description box for you, and they also were kind enough to give me a code. So the code EMMAJ will get you 15% off of your first ARMRA purchase. Thank you so much to ARMRA for sponsoring today's video. Let's pull up my little question box. I have yet to look at these, so we're just gonna kind of go through and talk. 2 people in a row just asked me what's my favorite Taylor Swift song at the moment. So I haven't really been listening to Taylor Swift. Should we jump right in? Listen, I think I'm just gonna be really unfiltered in this Q&A because why not? I've not been listening to Taylor Swift, and I am not here to say there's anything wrong with her or you shouldn't listen to her. I haven't wanted to talk about this. So I listened to Tortured Poets Department album whenever it came out a few months back, and with one listen through, I felt very convicted because there were a lot of songs that, to be very frank, we're going unfiltered today, felt like blasphemy, felt like just not it, and did not settle well with my soul. And that, my friends, is called discernment from the Holy Spirit. So I ignored it for a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, and kept listening to the album because it was very popular and people were really into it. But one, the album was just sad. It's a breakup album. It's very dark and depressing and made me feel very heavy listening to it. But on top of the emotional side of it, I just felt discernment. I felt convicted about it. There were so many little references to Jesus or God in there that just was wrong. And so I stopped listening to it. And I'm not gonna say I've never listened to Taylor Swift again, but I don't necessarily gravitate towards her anymore. And I also have never listened to that album specifically again. Every once in a while, a song by her might come on and I'm not gonna necessarily skip it, but I don't seek out listening to her constantly. I don't know, I've just been feeling very convicted on, I kind of been talking about this, social media and the people that I'm watching and listening, but I've also been feeling that towards music. Yeah. Anyways, any tips on budgeting and switching to a one-income family? It's really hard. I feel like people don't talk about it because money is very taboo. And again, we're just keeping it real today. So let's talk about money. That has been one of the hardest things about being a stay-at-home mom. It is truly the biggest blessing of my life, getting to stay home with my babies, but it is really difficult sometimes to feel like I'm not providing in any way for my family. And I know that I am. I know that I am providing in a different way, and I know that I am. No, I get it, okay? People don't talk about this enough. As a stay-at-home mom who does not really bring in any extra income, I have to say, I do make some income from social media, which I'm so thankful for. It's not like I'm making what these big influencers are making by any means, okay? I'm just making a little bit of supplemental income to help pay the bills, but it's not like I'm making a full-time income by any means. This is a big reason why I do get to stay home. So thank you so much for watching my videos and for letting me have sponsors and all the things. That being said, it's not like it's a full-time income. It's not like I am really providing that much. It's a little bit, it helps, but it's not what I would be bringing in, obviously, if I still taught full-time or did some other full-time job. And it's really difficult to feel like I'm not contributing. I know that I'm contributing in other ways. I know those ways are important. You don't have to tell me that, because I do know that. Michael knows that. He never makes me feel guilty. It's just something that I really carry sometimes, especially when you have a one-income family, which means one person is solely providing. That's a lot of a burden for him to carry. I know that that's just what he's called to do, is provide for our family, but that's a heavy burden to carry, and that's a heavy thing to fully have on your shoulders. And it's hard for me to see that sometimes, that if we need extra money, like, he's the one that's gonna go work the extra shift. Or like when things break around the house and you know it's gonna cost an arm and a leg to get it fixed, it's hard to not think like, well, if I worked full-time, this wouldn't be such a painful expense. And that's something I feel like people don't talk about. It's just the weight that I carry, knowing that weight that he carries, if that makes sense. I shared about this on Instagram, and a lot of people messaged me and said, thank you for talking about this. And maybe everyone doesn't feel this way, but I feel this way, especially coming from being a previously 2-income parent home to now going down to 1. We've seen what it's like to both work, and now we've seen what it's like for one of us to work, and it's obviously a very different income. That wasn't even the question. I just wanted to touch on that. If you feel the same way, that you're not alone, and I don't have any advice. I just also struggle with that too. In terms of like advice for budgeting, I feel like I'm not a great person to ask. The biggest thing for me personally is just living inside of your means. We live in a world where it's very normal to spend a bunch of money. It's normal to have Amazon packages arrive at your door every single day and constantly be doing more, buying more, and sometimes I can get swept up in that, but most of the time I feel like I'm pretty good at not wearing the same clothes that I've worn for a very long time, for the most part, knowing that you don't always need new. You don't always need to go shopping. You don't always need to go stroll around and see what Target tells you need, which I'm guilty of sometimes, but I think we just live in such a consumerist society, and like social media just amplifies that. I mean, there's like so many accounts even on Instagram that are literally dedicated to sharing things that they think you need to buy. I refuse to follow any of those accounts, because all it does is make me feel like what I have is not enough. All it does is tempt me to spend money that I don't have to spend. And so if those are things that you feel like you're struggling with, what are you consuming? What's telling you you need to buy new clothes? What's telling you that you need to redecorate? What's telling you that you need a new car? Whatever it might be, because what you have is probably good enough. Michael and I's biggest and first response with money is surrender, and we know that our money is not our own anyway, it's the Lord's. So our number one is tithing and giving and just being generous. We always want to be generous with what the Lord has given us in any season, whether we have less than we've ever had before or more than we've ever had before. Everything is not ours anyway, and so I feel like that posture really takes the stress out of our finances. Yes, there's obviously moments where you're like, oh shoot, this is expensive, or oh shoot, we need to work extra, or whatever, but I have seen time and time and time again that God is faithful and that He always comes through. And when we're generous, when we give, when we tithe, He always comes through financially for us, and in all ways, not just financially, but money is just a very easy, tangible thing to see that He has always provided our needs, and that's really helpful. Somebody asked me to discuss the difference in my feeding journey with Jordan versus Hallie, and kind of how I go about like breastfeeding versus formula feeding as a Christian mom, which I feel like it's a very loaded question, and I'm not gonna go too in depth because I don't know, I feel like I could talk about this for days, but at the same time I feel like there's not much to say because it's such a decision that's dependent upon you and your baby. So here's all I want to say about it. Your decision of how you're going to feed your child is solely between you and your child, which is a lot of pressure, and I think that's why sometimes it's so difficult, and we as moms carry it so much heavier than even dads do, because if I am choosing to personally with my body feed my baby, or I'm choosing to not, or I can't, I feel like it's just a thing that I have very much carried myself. I've carried that burden. Am I making enough? Am I not making enough? And like I've talked about, it was a struggle with Jordan to nurse her. And when I switched to formula, which was not very long after she was born, I felt a lot of guilt. I felt like I failed, felt like I did something wrong. I didn't try hard enough. It's hard being a mom, and it's hard being the one that feeds your baby primarily, because it just feels like a lot of pressure. Even if it's going well and there's nothing wrong, it's a lot of pressure, and no one can make that decision for you. Michael cannot make that decision for me. My best friend cannot make that decision for me. It is solely my choice. And so I've had to do a lot of surrendering my responsibility to the Lord, and just kind of, it sounds silly, but it's not silly to God. He cares about all the little things. He cares about your child and you, and he cares about what you're doing. If your breastfeeding journey is causing you stress, surrender it and ask if it's time to give it up, or pray for your milk supply, pray for, I don't know, all these things are things that I didn't even consider with Jordan, that I've just considered so much differently this time around. I've really tried to surrender it more to the Lord and just give it up to him. And if I'm struggling with something, I'll pray about it. If I'm struggling with her latch, I'm struggling with my milk supply, whatever it might be, struggling with just carrying the burden of it, that's the biggest thing I think I struggle with. I surrender it and I ask for help. God cares about that kind of stuff. That was a lot of words in a short amount of time, but that's how I feel. Okay, so I got asked about, we've been doing screen-free time with my toddler. I keep getting asked about what activities I do with her. How do I keep her entertained, especially without a TV? I used TV so much as a crutch for myself. When I felt like I needed a break, I needed to get something done, I needed to feed my baby, I needed to rock her, whatever. And I didn't give her enough credit to believe that she could entertain herself, because I've never forced her to fully, you know? I feel like when she would get bored, she would ask to watch a show, and sometimes I'd let her, sometimes I wouldn't, but sometimes I would. And it's just been really good for her to learn how to be bored, because she's learned what she enjoys doing. She's learned how to entertain herself. The other day I was rocking my baby and I came out, I had only been in there maybe 10 minutes, and I came out and she had turned on her little moon star projector that goes like on the ceiling, and she had turned on her Tony box, she had put on a princess dress, and she had her stuffed animal, and she was like twirling with it and dancing with it and having like a dance party under the stars in her room. So cute. And all I could think about was, a month ago I would have just put on a little show for her while I rocked Hallie. She was able to just act like a kid, and I feel like I have, I don't know, I don't want to say taken her childhood away, but I've robbed her of boredom, and she needed that space to be bored in order to find what she liked to do, how to entertain herself, and how to just be a kid. All that being said, what Jordan likes to do may not be what your toddler likes to do, but let them be bored and let them figure out what they like to do. Things that I've kind of learned over the last several weeks that she really loves is, one, her Tony box. She loves music. She loves to dance, she loves to sing, she loves to put on shows, she loves to listen to the stories, so that's been a hit. She loves books more than ever before. She just wants to sit and read, which is so cute. So I set her up a little book corner reading nook in her room, and that has really been fun for her. She loves imaginative play, so like her doctor kit, her baby dolls, stuffed animals, dollhouse, things like that, that she can, it's very open-ended. Those are her absolute favorites, I think. I also feel like it's freed me to feel like I always have to entertain her, because I always felt this guilt that I needed to be giving her these really fun activities, reading all these books to her, playing with her at every second of the day. And obviously I still spend time with her, I still play with her, but it's taken so much pressure off of me. I can't even fully express it and describe it, how great it feels to know I don't have to babysit. Like, honestly, I felt before like I was more a babysitter than a mom. I felt like I was always trying to entertain her. I was always trying to find fun things for her to do and find her new toys and always be like prompting her to do things. And now it's like I get to step back and watch her entertain herself, and I get to be involved. I get to play as well with her, but I'm not leading the play anymore. Cannot recommend it enough. What is some advice for full-time working moms? Being a stay-at-home mom is hard. Being a working mom is hard. They're different kinds of hard, but holy smokes. Being a working mom though is truly it takes it out of you. Here's my biggest tip is find really good balance and don't feel guilty for prioritizing work when you're at work and prioritizing your family when you're at home. I think it's easy to let them kind of seep together, to be at work and be sad that you're missing your kid, or be at home and feel like you're supposed to be doing all this work to catch up. Separate the two. When you're at work, just be fully present. You're not doing any good by throwing this guilt on yourself, and I know that's easier said than done, but I felt so much better about everything. When I was there, and when I was home, I was home. Do you want to homeschool or public school? I get asked this question literally every time I do a Q&A. We're not there yet. I have been doing a little bit of homeschool with Jordan in terms of like tiny bit of preschool. I've talked about it a couple of times. I'm really enjoying it though. I don't know what that will look like in a year or two when I actually need to start doing like full-time school with her. Well, it'd be like a couple years before I need to do full-time school with her. I think in my ideal world, I'd love to have some kind of like hybrid situation where she goes to like a co-op or a hybrid school, private school, something twice a week, and then the other half of the week I homeschool, or maybe like joining a co-op or something with a homeschool. I'm not sure. I know that I don't necessarily want to do 5 days a week homeschool with nothing else, but I also don't know that I really want to do 5 days a week public school with 30 other kids, because that's a whole thing. Don't hold me to anything, but the closer it's getting, the more and more I feel like I'm leaning towards homeschool. But again, I'd love to find something kind of in between. Okay, currently in the newborn with toddler trenches. When does it get better? Some days I'm still very much in the trenches, and my baby is 5.5 months old. 3 to 4 month mark, we finally started hitting our routine, and that's when I really start thriving again, is when my baby's on a routine. It's more of like a rhythm and a routine than a strict schedule for sure, but it's very helpful for me to know this is when she gets hungry, these are the times she gets sleepy, this is usually how long she naps for, and that's super helpful with balancing a newborn and a toddler for sure. I don't thrive on chaos, and that's what I feel like my first few months at least were like, and honestly some days they're still chaos, but she's 5 months old now and I feel like we're in a good rhythm. I was thinking the other day, I was loading both of them up. I don't remember where we were going. I think we were going to the park, and it was very last minute that we decided to go. And I remember thinking, I would have seen myself doing this 3 months ago, 4 months ago, especially before Hallie was even born. I would not have believed you, because everything felt so hard. Everything felt so chaotic, unmanageable, unpredictable. And now I feel like I've got it. Like, I can take them out by myself. I did not feel that way at all a few months back. I was petrified. The days before Michael went back to work, I was so nervous because I had no idea how I was supposed to manage both of them at the same time. I was barely managing one at a time. It's just like anything in life. How do you get through it? You get through it. It's kind of like building stamina. The more you do it, the better you get. Every day I feel a little bit more confident. Every day I am braver, and we do better and we do more things, and I'm learning, and it's just trial and error. You kind of learn through your failures, and it's hard, but it's helpful, and you'll get through it. And I guarantee if you look back even a few weeks, you are probably doing much better than you were a few weeks ago. So give yourself some credit, give yourself some more time. It'll get better. Okay, my camera keeps cutting me off because I'm talking too much, so let me just pick 1 or 2 more. Do you want to have more kids? Isn't this the golden question? I do. I want 100 babies, to be honest with you. Okay, I would love to know. We're keeping it really real today. I would love to know if you've had C-sections. How many C-sections have you had? Because I thought, honestly, after having Hallie, depending on how her birth would go, I didn't know if I'd be done at 2 or if I'd want more. And her birth was just so great, and I also I love seeing my baby and my toddler together, that it makes me want a million children. Is it hard? Am I overwhelmed? Yes, but oh my gosh, it's so fun. And I love seeing them together, and it just makes me never want to stop having babies. But I have heard that it's not recommended. My doctor has not told me this. I have not asked about it. So I just want your guys' input if you've gone through several C-sections, but I've heard on the internet it's not recommended to have more than 3 C-sections. It's not the greatest, but I don't know. Obviously, I'll talk to my doctor if I want more than 3 kids. I just am curious. If you've had more than 3, let me know, because I would be fine with 3 kids, but sometimes I'm like 4 could be fun, or 10. Oh, my baby's awake. So I'm gonna wrap up this video. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. If you made it all the way to the end, I want you to leave me a comment and tell me what were you doing while listening to this coffee chat, because I feel like it was kind of podcasty vibes. So were you just sitting with a cup of coffee, cleaning your house, rocking your baby? What are you doing right now? I want to know. Thank you guys for watching, for being here, and I will see you next week. Bye, friends.